Hey everybody, it's Leslie from Discovery Fabrics, and today we're going to be featuring Martha, who's going to be explaining a little bit about our technical fabrics that can be used for kayaking and outdoor activities. And Martha, by way of introduction, ran an outfitting operation in the Yukon for many years. She's an experienced kayaking and canoeing guide and has much experience in staying warm, dry, and safe on the water and in the wild. So here's Martha.
Okay, so this post is in response to Leanne's question yesterday on Facebook about what might be the best NeoShell fabric to use for a paddling jacket. So as a place to start, I brought in my Expedition dry suit. So this is made by Kokatat. It's a heavy duty Expedition weight dry suit. It's made out of Gore-Tex. Kokatat happens to use Gore-Tex, not NeoShell, but they're very similar technologies, and we'll talk more about that in a second. This one in particular is really quite beefy. You can hear it's got that crunchy sound to it, but that's because it's meant to be, well, to stand up to a lot of abuse in an expedition setting. So that's that one. And then I also brought in my Kokatat. This is just a kayaking anorak. So this is sort of splash protection when you're out in a sea kayak, and it's meant to keep the water out. Lots of room for being able to paddle and move around, but not nearly as heavy duty in terms of its weight as the Expedition dry suit. Interestingly, this one's also Gore-Tex, and it's a 2-layer Gore-Tex, meaning that's the membrane that you're looking at on the inside. So it's the outer fabric and a membrane only. The 3-layer Gore-Tex is the outer fabric. The membrane is kind of white that you can't see, and then it's got the nylon tricot inner. So 3-layer, 2-layer. So this is a little bit beefier, this is a little lighter weight.
So your kayaking jacket is basically for keeping yourself dry from the splashes of the water,
yeah,
as opposed to the other one you're wearing when it's cold and wet, and it's going to save your life if you fall in the water.
This is meant for surviving in an immersion setting. So if I was in my kayak or my canoe on a glacial river that's, barely above freezing temperature and I went over, if I have the appropriate layers underneath here, no water's gonna get in. So it's got the latex gaskets at the neck, the wrist. This one has the booties and the feet, so you're completely sealed off, so no water gets in. And the idea is your layers underneath are gonna insulate you from that cold water.
Okay.
So that's that. Yeah, this one is more for splash protection. Light rainy conditions out in your sea kayak where you're not worried about going over.
And it could be used in warmer weather as well, in kayaking as well too,
absolutely.
couldn't it?
Like I wear this in the summertime if it was raining.
Okay.
And depending on the water temperature and the risk factor, I would analyze all that and decide what I was wearing underneath it. I might end up with a wetsuit underneath it if I was worried about going over.
Okay.
Or I might have a t-shirt. Kind of depends on where I am. But in terms of these two styles, I've got kind of lightweight on one end, heavy duty on the other, and then what I'm about to show you from our stock is kind of in the middle. We don't really have an exact match to the heavy duty one or the light one. We kind of meet somewhere in the middle. So let me just move those two across.
And just as a disclaimer, we really don't even have any patterns to recommend. I'm sure there are some patterns that could be adapted for this kind of wear. Certainly none that I'm aware of right off the top of my head. But what we want to show you here is how you would use the applications of these particular fabrics in designs like this, if you can find one, or self-drafted, and also in more casual jackets that you're making, because sometimes it's the same ideas in the fabric that you need to apply to those designs.
Okay, so how did I pick? Well, first of all, as you can see from my two samples here, I am a big believer in if you're out on the water, you need to be seen. And Coast Guard recommends, in terms of visibility, bright yellow, oranges, high-vis green, red's not bad, white is okay, as long as you're on flat seas and not in a bunch of white caps, then white goes out the window. And interestingly, robin's egg blue, because it doesn't appear in nature except in a robin's egg, and so it, in terms of a contrast color, apparently is quite easy to see. But we don't have anything in robin's egg blue, so much for that.
Yes.
So these three right here are from our NeoShell Stretch page, and they're style 66860. Yeah, 66860. It's a green. It's not quite high-vis green, but I thought it's light enough that it's probably okay. Then we have spicy orange and one that we called high-vis orange. So you can see the difference between the two. The high-vis is definitely much lighter. It's not a true neon orange, but it's light and bright. This one's a little bit darker. And then I also pulled this style, which is 6732 in Atmosphere as a white. So the first thing you'll notice just between these four is the Atmosphere 6732. It's got the jersey back. These three here all have the nylon tricot back. And I think the nylon tricot is probably your best bet in terms of actually going over and being in the water, because this nylon tricot, it's basically a mesh bonded onto the membrane and the outer fabric. There's really nothing there that can absorb or trap extra water, so it's not going to get weighted down. This jersey, it's polyester jersey, so again, it shouldn't really, the fibers aren't going to absorb moisture, but because it's a tighter weave, a tighter fabric, it could accept a little bit of moisture. And then the one I have over here, this is from our no stretch section. This is style 66002 in Lightning. So a bright yellow. This one is a little bit heavier than these two. This one is 3.8 ounces per square yard. And this one is 3.4 ounces per square yard. So very similar. This one's a little bit stiffer. These are slightly softer. But I would say you could use any of these to make a entirely appropriate paddling jacket. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask me and I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks very much, Martha.
You're welcome.
Okay.